for extended dedicated support for the sector. Well, joining me live now is Victorian Liberal MP Tim Wilson, live out of Canberra. Tim, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So, well, just on that,
thanks for having me.
Even though the government has spent a lot when it comes to the struggling tourism sector, that was pre these latest lockdowns. Would you like to see more money and help provided from the government to the tourism sector?
Well, money has already been provided through additional support. We've had agreements between state and Commonwealth government to provide assistance to small businesses and businesses with turnovers, that are more modest than large corporates, to make sure that we can provide that assistance and support at this time. So the need for additional support in addition to what has already been provided, I think the case needs to be made. What we need is state governments, particularly the Queensland state government, to come to the party to put its money down with the Commonwealth so that assistance can flow.
But what about those businesses, say, up in Queensland or in the ACT or wherever, that rely on, say, travel from Victorians in lockdown? Well, they're not in lockdown now, but Sydney-siders in lockdown and potentially Brisbane residents in lockdown that rely on that kind of interstate travel. Should there be more targeted support in that sense?
Well, I said there's already been targeted support specifically for the tourism sector, but
beyond
this is just a job. No, this is not just a job for the Commonwealth. The state governments who impose the lockdowns, need to accept responsibility and provide support and assistance as well. In the additional support that's been provided by the Commonwealth, it's a requirement that it's essentially matched by the state government so that they share the responsibility for the lockdowns that they're imposing. And if there are additional measures that need to be supported, then the state government needs to come to the party as well.
70% vaccination target by the end of the year. Can it be achieved?
Well, by the end of the year, everyone who wishes to get a vaccine should be able to get a vaccine, and I'm very optimistic that we'll hit that outcome. But ultimately, this is up to the Australian people as much as up to the government. The government has a responsibility to make sure that vaccines are in available supply throughout the remainder of the year, and we've got 220-odd thousand nearly every day being vaccinated, more than 1 million a week. But Australians need to lift their left or right shirt sleeve up and go and get the jab.
Do you wish the targets were lower?
Well, what I want is Australians to go out and actually get the jab more than anything else. I mean, we can all debate the targets. The targets have been set between state and Commonwealth governments, so we need to make sure that Australians are out there and encouraged to get the vaccination. And frankly, it's welcome that we've finally seen the opposition jump on board and actually support Australians getting either the Pfizer or the AstraZeneca vaccine. It seemed for a while like the Labor opposition were interested in undermining the vaccine rollout by trying to dissuade people from getting AstraZeneca. They still have a candidate in the federal electorate of Higgins, who's somebody who has been very critical of people getting AstraZeneca and has actually actively told people to wait to get the Pfizer vaccine rather than get the AstraZeneca vaccine. That's deeply irresponsible.
Yeah,
it's not
that's come
consistent
from,
with
that's
the
come
medical
from your
advice.
government as well, though. I mean, Targi made its changes, and that was amplified by the government. So all over the shop, it's been mixed messaging.
I don't agree with that. I mean, in the end, we've always said that if people want to be able to go out and get the AstraZeneca vaccine, they're able to do so. There have been people, obviously, with a lower risk profile. It's only ever been a position broadly based on advice, but when it comes down to it, people can repudiate their views. The government has made it clear that people should go out and get AstraZeneca vaccine. Now we need the Labor candidate Higgins to repudiate her views in opposing people taking the AstraZeneca vaccine and particularly giving people advice against taking it.
The Prime Minister has said this morning that he wishes that 80% target was lower. Do you agree with him?
Well, we all want to get back to normal as quickly as possible. And so as soon as we can get back to normal as possible, the better for everybody. So if we can get vaccine take-up as far as possible and as quickly as possible and we get as much immunity, the better. And so, I mean, we all want the target to be met faster. No one's arguing otherwise.
No one's at 80%,
and that's the objective. Sorry?
There's no country that's at 80%. So can it be achieved here?
Well, I'm hopeful that we can get to the 70% rate. I'm hopeful that we can get, ultimately I'd love to get to 100%. So it's going to be challenging no matter what the situation is we face. But the main objective is to get people vaccinated, which means if you haven't got the vaccine already, get ready. If you have, stay awesome.
OK, it looks as though some of the country's biggest investment funds will face a parliamentary inquiry.
They will. The House Economics Committee has a new inquiry looking at capital concentration and particularly the dominance of funds that are increasingly going to own large chunks of the Australian Stock Exchange. If you go and look at the intergenerational report, it's increasingly clear that superannuation funds will have more capital in them than the entirety of the value of the Australian Stock Exchange. We want to make sure and level the playing field for mum and dad investors and for every Australian to be participants and not be pushed around or bullied by large corporates.
Tim Wilson, appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
This